Good afternoon, traders. Russell Sandiford here again for another weekly market outlook for Easy Markets. Well, look, last week certainly finished with a huge move there in Bitcoin, getting everybody's attention, screaming to highs around that 7,900 level, and then the weekend trade dragging it so fast back down about $2,000. Now that was all quickly forgotten yesterday. And I did have that thought that we might see the bargain hunters come screaming in on Bitcoin, and it has rallied back $1,000 back to 6,650 or thereabouts as we speak today. So for the Bitcoin traders out there, it's definitely a wild ride, and probably more of that sort of volatility to come now that we've gotten through that proposed Bitcoin fork. Now for the major markets, this week really is a very compacted week. What I mean by that, starting this evening, 8:30 this evening Sydney time, of course, is the UK CPI. That inflation number for the UK probably is not enough to save that heavy selling pressure that seems to be building in that sterling against the US dollar. We did actually see a bit of a sneak preview of that move with sterling getting crunched later on in that London session yesterday. Now the main reason for that, of course, isn't anything to do with those inflation projections. That was all about the weekend news for Theresa May being under severe pressure. I don't actually know that if she does resign and go, that'll be bad for the sterling. I think, in my opinion anyway, I think that might make the Brexit communications and the Brexit negotiations a bit more of a clearer path. So don't be too surprised to see how that plays out over the next month or so, and if the sterling can actually lift off the canvas. But the CPI tonight kicks off a huge night for traders. We have an economic forum panel, essentially, of the four biggest central bank speakers in the world, starting with, of course, the ECB Draghi, just about 9 p.m. Sydney, followed by Bank of England. Of course, Janet Yellen is there as well, and not to forget, of course, the Bank of Japan. I'm not sure we'll get too much groundbreaking commentary out of any of those speakers out of Frankfurt this evening, but any clues, particularly from Draghi or Yellen, in relation to QE taper or inflation there for the US and the outlook there for the US, will have a big impact. So traders, let me get to my 3 trade ideas for the next few days, because really we've got a lot of action tonight, but the big event is Wednesday, tomorrow evening. Just after the US Open is the big risk event this week. It's the US inflation number. There's 2 reasons why that's critical. Number one, it's supposed to be a reasonably good data number now that we've gotten through those US hurricanes. But number 2, the key reason is it's a lot closer, and it's the last important number before that December rate hike, which is basically priced in about 99%. For mine, that gives me a few trade ideas. For mine, I really think that means the US dollar strength could well be overly priced in. Overly priced in for mine means long euro, a snap back from this 116.70 level, back above 117 is very possible this week, as well as gold. I think gold can get off the 1277 price area, which it's been jiggling around, and make a run through last week's high of 1287 and carry on to move towards 1300 to finish this year. Now the other key one is dollar yen. We have always a very close attention on dollar yen. It's a very good risk thermometer. Now with all of what has played out in the last, say, fortnight in the markets, where we got a bit of a showcase there of the US stock story starting to come back. But the big story is this. I think the inflation data, it will be on par or slightly better, but traders will sort of shrug that off. It's very well priced in. The next attention point shifts very quickly to the US tax reform. Now that is straight behind it Thursday, Friday, Sydney time. We may get a disappointment there. I can't see that US tax reform story really getting anywhere in its current form. So the big points this week, traders, for the gold traders long, looking for US dollar disappointment. For the euro traders long, again looking for that euro to snap back. But as well, the best of those 3, in my view, is the short dollar yen positioning. All we need is a decent sell-off in stocks, and the risk theme. We saw it last night. We got a very good preview last night in Monday London dealing. Risk off everywhere. The Aussie and Kiwi got left for dead, and dollar yen took a tumble as well, and then we sort of settled down a bit. So guys, the big trade for me is dollar yen short from this 1360 level. I think all we need is a little bit of a catalyst there, and the US tax reform plan could be it, and dollar yen takes a real tumble. So I'm calling for US dollar softness broadly. Now for the Aussie traders, or for traders that are looking for something that's a little bit more mild, a little bit more local, the Aussie jobs data and retail sales, of course, is here in the Asian session on Thursday. So the Aussie dollar for mine, I'm going against the trend there. I'm a bit of a contrarian, thinking the Aussie can get back off the canvas as well and push back up to 77.30. If you guys need a hand with your trading or have any questions at all, just come through to our dealing desk here at Easy Markets.